Yeah, and part of the reason I did it also, and the timing of it was important because I feel that there is such a discourse between Jews, Muslims, and the groups that support each of these two groups that rarely do you see a person on either side saying, you know something, I was wrong, and hopefully this will create more dialogue between these two groups that historically have not gotten along very well. That me humbling myself and saying, yeah, I made a mistake in regards to this person, and hopefully this will trigger other similar type situations from both sides where both parties are, you know something, maybe I was taking too stiff of an approach to how I'm dealing with this type of thing. Because even if you saw me on, when I was on Piers Morgan, and it was like a panel of mostly Jewish people and like one Muslim guy, and Sharon Osbourne was on that, and she was like going nuts about everything. It was this group called Kneecap who had like some kind of anti-Israel lyrics at Coachella, and people were kind of upset about it. I guess their visa got revoked and shit like that.
Okay.
And I'm like, everyone's like so angry, but there's like one Muslim dude that's trying to defend himself, and I'm like, I don't like this. Like, this is not what I'm trying to portray here. I was the one voice that was saying like, like I don't support, like both parties are wrong right now in this conflict. Israel's wrong for their heavy-handed approach, and Hamas is wrong for essentially, imagine if suddenly 1,000 people opened fire at Coachella and kidnapped a few hundred people in the process. Like, that's what happened in Israel. See what I'm saying? You can't justify that either. But you also can't justify bombing where kids are getting killed and so forth. Like, both parties are wrong, and there needs to be some degree of flexibility with everyone to be able to say that, because having a hardline approach has not worked. Has not worked. What has it accomplished? You know what I'm saying?
Nothing but starting to make them look like the same people that they were crying about during the Holocaust. Because a lot of the shit that the Jewish people, that the Jewish military specifically is doing is very similar to what the Nazis were doing.
I don't agree in that regard, because it's a war as opposed to...
It was a war back then!
But there was not a war against the Jews. The Jews were the citizens that were being...
And these people are citizens. These are not combatants that are being bombed and all of that type of shit.
I see where you're going.
What I'm saying is...
I think you have somewhat of a point.
They're coming very militaristic, right?
Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
Israel is very... they're like the leading with like military technology and all of this type of shit, and they're very proud of their fucking army and Krav Maga and all this fucking shit. And what I'm saying is, there's a very slippery slope, people. You gotta be careful because things slide. You don't want to become the same people that you felt was persecuting you. You don't want to now be the persecutors.
Yeah, and unfortunately in life that happens way too often. Unfortunately, people, and I've seen this over and over again, people with childhood trauma that never address it will turn around and
become
the abusers that they were subject to when they were young, because they didn't want to deal with it, and they never accepted it, and they don't want to go to therapy and so forth, and suddenly you create a whole cycle. And I don't like what Israel's doing. I don't like the way they're approaching it. I don't like what Hamas has done. And unfortunately, there are religious issues that are preventing people from just compromising and talking it out. So here we are. Israel and Palestine have been at war since I've been alive. Probably since you've been alive. There's never really been a time of prolonged peace. It's always been fucked up. At the end of the day, I've said that I respect what Farrakhan has done.
Well, I feel like...
I just want to say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I respect what Farrakhan has done. I respect what the Nation of Islam has done. I think that they have accomplished a lot of great things. Just like every other group, I'm not going to agree with every single thing that they did, but you can't just say, well, because of this one little thing or this one even big thing, I'm going to throw away everything else. At the end of the day, Farrakhan and the Anti-Defamation League have never gotten along. There's never been a conversation. There's never been something that ultimately has benefited all the parties involved. And what I'm hoping is, as a prominent Jewish person in hip hop, and I'm one of the most prominent Jewish people in hip hop, that me putting something like this out will, you know, me apologizing, me taking responsibility, me not blaming anybody else and making excuses, or I'm sorry, but no, it's just, I'm sorry, will hopefully create more of a peaceful dialogue and more of a flexibility and more of a compromise. Because I don't think anyone really wants to be in constant conflict. It doesn't benefit anybody. And this is an example, you know what I'm saying? Like, you and I not rocking with each other for 5 years, I lost and you lost. You know, and I respect you reaching out first and making this happen. And, you know, this will be the first of many.
No doubt, Vlad.
It's what it is. Peace.
Yes, peace.